Let's do story time. So I know that we talked a little bit yesterday about reincarnation and how I'm sort of on the fence about how I feel about reincarnation. But the evidence that I introduced yesterday, let's talk about that a little bit because I didn't go into that and I said I would save it for another day, and today is another day. So I had a client who was referred to me by a local doctor. I work with a couple of different doctors here in Colorado, primarily with patients trying to deal with the spiritual aspect of whatever might be wrong with them or their diagnosis. Nothing's wrong with them. They just might be having issues with something. And so we've been in this weird kind of informal study for the last 10 years or so about how working with the spiritual side of things might impact their physical symptoms. So she was a referral, never met her before, didn't know anything about her. She decided that she wanted a reading and that was what she felt was holding her back, were unresolved issues around the loss of a child that she had experienced a few years before. So over the course of her reading, and it was a pretty long reading, my readings go as long as they go. I don't say, well, it's an hour or it's 30 minutes. Your readings go as long as they need to go because sometimes people have a lot of things that they need to work through, a lot of issues, a lot of problems, a lot of thoughts. And there were a lot of dead that wanted to talk to her. She had a lot of people who had crossed, a lot of loss. And so the reading finishes, a lot of time's gone by, I think it's like an hour and a half. And she asks me, can you sense a child? And I said, no, I don't sense a child. I checked in with the dead that were still there. No child, no children. She asked if any of the dead relatives were bringing up a child, and nope, nobody had anything to do with the child. Just as a side note, if you ever go get a reading and someone is asking you a lot of questions, get up and leave. Take your money with you. Do not pay them. There are a lot of people who say that they're intuitive and they're just really good at reading you. And so, yeah, that's not okay. In this situation, the reading was over with. So I asked her the question. I said, so, I don't usually get babies. For some reason, I don't know why. Can you tell me a little bit about why you asked? And she let me know that she had lost a child. I don't remember at what age. I believe it was very young, if not at birth. And this was probably 15 years ago. And my guide said, she's going to meet the child in 3. I said, I don't know what that means. Can you give me more information so that she can take something useful away from this information? Nothing else, just she will meet the child in 3. So, and yes, I realize how crazy this sounds, and I prefaced that with her and said, I'm sorry, I realize this is cryptic. What I'm getting is you're going to meet the child in 3. Does that mean anything to you? And she said, well, my sister just had a baby, and I'm flying out to, I think it was Arizona or Nevada, I don't remember, not important, to meet the baby in 3 days. So I thought that was really interesting. And my guide is always really good about this stuff because I can say, yeah, I don't know what I feel about that. I don't think I believe in reincarnation. This person who is basically a staunch atheist or agnostic for decades. And his attitude is always, well, you can believe whatever you want. It doesn't change the fact that this is real, which I greatly appreciate. So I asked her, I didn't tell her that that child was hers. I asked my guide. My guide said, yep, that is indeed the child that she lost. That child has chose to come back to the family to help her learn the lessons that it wasn't able to learn as her child. So I didn't tell her that part. I'm not sure why. I didn't feel like I was supposed to share that with her, is probably the main reason. I don't hold things back unless I'm told not to say something. So when you get a reading, you get everything, good and bad, unless I'm specifically told that it's not a good idea and that you need to kind of hold that back. So I waited. I think it was something she needed to figure out on her own. So she has her visit. I asked her to, just for the sake of curiosity, let me know how that goes. I'm curious about the outcome of this. I've never seen this before. So she has her visit. She calls me back and says, I have had the most crazy experience with this child. I feel so connected to this child in a way that I've only ever felt connected to my own children. but I want my sister to call you because she's suffering postpartum depression, and I know that she has actually said the words that she's having a really hard time bonding with this child, that she keeps saying, this doesn't feel like it's my child. I ended up becoming friends with this person, and we were friends for a few years until she moved away, and I haven't spoken to her in a long time. But at the time that I last spoke to her, she did still continue to have this very close relationship with her niece, who might possibly have been her child that she lost a few years earlier. So I don't know what happens when we die. I've said that. I've also said that I'm not an expert on death, but I've seen a lot of things that indicate that we do go on after we die. We just don't have this. We have this. We have what's in here, the spirit, the part of us that loves and hurts and feels happiness and joy and sorrow and anger and frustration and all of those things. And it seems to go on pretty much the way it was when it had the body. It doesn't seem to change a lot. And like my guide said, I don't have to necessarily believe in it for it to be true, which I think is even cooler. So, yet another story. Got lots of them. Stay tuned.